Hi, welcome to Laura's View, a Tarot 2. I am really glad you're here. Today's date is Friday, February 9th, 2024. Yesterday on the 8th, Tucker Carlson aired his interview of President Vladimir Putin. And within an hour, that interview had 20 million views. I just checked it. It's been up now for 26 hours, and it's at 158 million views. And I don't know if that counts the people that have reposted it or if it's just simply there on the homepage, but it's still an amazing amount of viewership, which is good because I hold President Putin, who I believe to be version 2.0, in high esteem. 1.0, not so much. I hear he was a bit of a tyrant, okay? Not someone that you would think of as being, part of an alliance or white hat group or anything like that. So let's take a look at some of the reaction in the alt media community about that interview, and then ask the tarot cards a question. Now, the main thing that I saw today as I was looking through some of the sources for alt media that I look at every day was that people were very focused on the fact that 17 seconds into that interview, President Putin made a big show about taking his wristwatch off and setting it on the table by a pen. Now, granted, that is an action that sometimes people do when they're trying to pace themselves in meetings, not talk too much or something like that. But it was kind of universally felt that this was a communication of some sort. So I'm going to take you to a compilation I've got that speculates about that a little bit, and then we'll see what the tarot cards want us to know about the interview. Okay, the compilation, if it interests you and you'd like to look at it in more depth or detail, you can click on the Facebook link that'll be in the video description box for my video. Now, here is where the 17-second mark and the watch is coming off, and it was noticed. Now, the Tucker Carlson's group probably had some editing rights, and so did, I'm sure, President Putin's. So there seems to have been kind of a tacit understanding here that this was going to occur at 17 seconds. I'm going to go to this comment first, down here, by an anon in the community. Realize there is zero reason for him to remove his watch. I've never gone into a meeting and said, oh, this watch is bothersome. This is communications. Now, again, I've seen people do it occasionally in a meeting when they're trying to kind of monitor time, but usually not a one-on-one session. It's more like when you're doing Robert's Rules of Orders and people have 3 minutes to speak. So a watch, pen, exactly 17 seconds into the meeting. This is nothing short of astounding. This one anon, this wasn't me, this was just somebody commenting on one of the discussion groups I looked at. He may as well have said, by the way, Tucker, just to make clear, the 17 operation your American media ridicules is as real as the chair you're sitting in. I'm with Mr. T all the way on the plan to save the world, and let me tell you this, nothing can stop what is coming. Where we go one, we go all. Okay, now the reason for that is for several years, some of the Q drops or 17 drops have had rather enigmatic watch and pen photos that showed up. And there were various decodes associated with those at the time they happened. But again, just leaving the thought out there that there could be multiple meanings for many of these. And one of the people that pointed out that in 2647 was this, follow the watch. They thought this might be significant since that watch was kind of a very spotlighted action at the start of that interview. Okay, now I looked up some other instances where watches were shown in the 17 posts. Okay, and this one, the real fun starts soon. I'm wondering if these kind of follow the watch. The real fun starts soon. And one of those decodes that we saw, again, where they were speculating about how, in this case, for this watch, which was showing 129, it coincided with some very specific information releases for the Durham report, the IG report, and the Barr rebuttal. And at this, when I was looking through this old one, they speculated that it meant either option one, which I think has proven to be not the case, because I don't think all three of these people were good guys, white hats, but we'll see. We'll see. We are told that some that we thought weren't white are, and vice versa. Okay, and I think it's more likely that number two was the thing for this one, but that doesn't really have anything to do with the actions by President Putin in that interview. Okay, but I did like this comment. Timing is important. How many coincidences? Use of coincidences is essential not to violate national security. In other words, how many before they're mathematically impossible? And several of the non-commentators were really bemoaning the fact that they couldn't see what time was on this watch, because they thought that might have been relevant if it could have been shown. But it was kind of universally acknowledged that the 17-second mark was very deliberate and a communication. And I think this might be, again, the summation that's pretty much accurate, okay? Just a nod, as we get so many when there's 17s that come up in Mr. T, and the air cues and things like that, just kind of giving us that that reassurance that it's not just a psyop, that it is an op. And it's a long range one, and it's in many cases covert, but it's very, very real. So here's what I wanted to ask the universe about tonight. The is one of the possible decoded meanings of that timepiece being laid down at the 17 mark, does it kind of line up with the follow the watch? Was it an advice to keep our eye on Mr. Putin? Oh, by the way, there was one other thing in that share screen. Let me go back to it. I made a reference a while ago that I believe Mr. Putin to be a 2.0, a replacement. And I've read in alt media where, I'm sorry, needed to go to share screen. I've read in alt media where and when that may have happened, but that's not really relevant here. I would like to show you the two pictures. This is the original 1.0, and this is the one that has been replacing him for well over a decade and is solidly a white hat, in my opinion. And opinions sometimes are right, sometimes they're not, but it is my opinion. I'm willing to state it and stand by it. And that was why, when Mr. Putin has had actions with other countries that seem controversial, or people on the left worried that it meant that he was going to be in a world domination takeover program, I didn't worry about it. I didn't. Thought, no, not 2.0. Not 2.0. We've got good 2.0s out there in many cases, and he is one of them, in my opinion. Okay, so are we being advised in that, with that little communication at the 17-second mark, that we should continue to keep our eye on the actions and words as much as we can in our censored media on Mr. Putin? And then with the second one, the second alignment with watches and pens, is it because the fun is about to start? So should we keep our eye on Mr. Putin because the fun is about to start? Let's see what the universe wants us to know. Now I'll go to the table camera view, and you can watch me work with the cards, and we'll find out together. I was kind of excited to see what this has to say. Okay, so is it accurate that one of the communication tidbits from that 17-second mark of putting down that watch, does it jive with the 17 drops to follow the watch? Because the fun is about to start, and that watch belonged to President Putin. Okay, our first card is King of Cups. Then the Five of Swords. The Hermit. Got a hard yes here with Ace of Pentacles. Another 5 showing up with the 5 of Wands. Ooh, 3 of Swords. I'll be interested to share with you what that means to me. And then the 2 of Cups. I'm going to move these cards over and see if we can get the glare off this one a little bit. I apologize for that. Again, I'm working with pretty standard home equipment. Okay, so you're just gonna, when I talk about this one, let me hold it up now. This again is the 5 of Swords. There you can see it clearly. And of course, you can also look it up on the internet if you just want to Google that. Okay, so the King of Cups is showing up for the question, which he can be a little bit tricky, but he's very much in charge of his feelings, his emotions, and kind of has a clear path and plan. Now, that clear path and plan that the King of Cups often has, which is indicating Mr. Putin quite nicely, I believe, is not necessarily going to be too worried about what people think about his actions or his plan. Seeing it successfully go from start to finish is more important to him than public perception. So yeah, not one you're going to appeal to his gentler sense of whatever if you don't like what his plan is. So that is indicating that. Now, the 5 of Swords indicates a temporary situation. So while we're getting a yes, that we need to keep our eye on President Putin and the fun is about to start, we don't have a long wait for that fun to show up. The Hermit showed up in the near past, and the Hermit is kind of like our divine oversight card, just letting us know that, again, and often indicated with in respects to kind of just a nod that our alliance, when we speak of it, it's not just those of us here on this plane of existence, but we have some divine and benevolent help out there. What's he shining a light on? This card, our President Putin card. Okay, so yeah, keep your eye on him. Absolutely. Got a hard yes for that. And it looks like whatever we're keeping our eye on about, and this conflict is, this is kind of indicative of a conflict, a partial win. Sometimes some people view these people as leaving in disgust. It can also be just a partial win, you know, strategic, okay, it's time to call it a day. And so they walk away without their arms, which, you know, back 300, 400 years ago would have been a major loss of your military advantage. Now, the 3 of Swords is showing up here. Now, this card can often mean that there's some deceit involved, but with me, it also shows up where I was asserting my opinion that President Putin is a 2.0. This is the card that shows up time and again for me when it's involving 2.0s. Usually, I'll just leave it at that, 2.0s of whatever stripe, whether it's a stand-in actor, someone wearing a mask, you know, clone, whatever. CGI, there's a lot of that going on. Otherwise, why would the Pope have disappeared from the balcony a few years ago? But this card shows up a lot for that. So it's confirmation that I can say with confidence that the leader I admire in the form and fashion of President Putin is a 2.0. Another 5 showing up here saying we're going to come into the conflicts again that he and his country are involved in are not long range in nature, that there's actually been or going to be a more public agreement, and the it looks like the conflict is going to, at least publicly in the near future, in the country that starts with you, kind of come to a, looks like an understanding and agreement. So keep our eye on him because there's going to be some major events that do involve him, but nothing that is worrisome for us. Okay, so we don't have to fear that he's going to set his sights on other shores and what have you. That's not the fear here. It's an acknowledgement that he is a 2.0, that the conflicts he's engaged in aren't going to last much longer and going to seem to resolve in a very amicable way. Here's a little more confirmation of that with the Lover's card showing up. further confirmation with the Ace of Swords. Again, I know there's a glare, so I'll hold it up so you can see that it is the Ace of Swords. Okay, which is a victory and success card, showing up with the Lovers where you balance needs and wants. So we've got some situations, major world situations that are getting ready to resolve in the very near future in a nice and peaceful fashion. Okay, Four of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. Typical meaning for these cards is frugality, or at least being careful with your resources. And this card kind of shows a balance, very much in balance, 50-50 of those same resources. So again, it's going to be strategic. We've got these showing up, so it looks like there may be some financial news coming up in regards to President Putin, possibly the BRICS alliance, things like that. Looks like it's not going to be, all out fanfare, but it does look like in a meaningful but not necessarily more than modest way, there's going to be some financial benefit coming out of some of the changes we're seeing that are going to be involving President Putin. That was interesting. Let's recap. When Tucker Carlson interviewed President Putin, and it aired yesterday on February 8th, 2024, many people noticed that at the 17-second mark in that interview, President Putin removed his watch and laid it by a pen. And that was a very similar visual to what has shown up in numerous 17 posts with pens and watches and little words of advice with those to follow the watch. And another one where the fun is about to start. So our question in the universe is one of the communications that may have been layered into that interview that very same thing, to follow the watch, and that watch belongs to President Putin, and the fun is about to start. Well, we got a hard yes right in the row that talks about the president with the Ace of Pentacles. Okay, President Putin, I asserted, is a 2.0. And the cards indicate him with the King of Cups, who can be a little tricky. Okay, he knows where he's going and what he's doing, and he'll step on toes if he has to get there. And I think that all kind of lines up with the personality we see with Vladimir Putin 2.0. The card right under it, inside card, the predominant one is yes, a confirmation. Three of Swords often shows up for me to confirm that we're discussing in the political arena, especially a 2.0 version. Not necessarily what type, okay? I mean, I have my thoughts of what form of 2.0 President Putin is, but this is just kind of like a general label that the universe puts on it. I thought that was interesting. So conflicts involving him currently and in the near future, fives tend to be not long-term things. So it does look like in the near future, there's going to be an ending of some conflicts that he and his country are involved in that are going to resolve amicably. So not in a way that we have to worry that it's going to end up being a planet-wide issue. Okay, the Lover's card also kind of confirmed this is a card where needs and wants to balance out, meant another Ace of Swords this time, which our sword suit talks about contractual matters, written and spoken word, kind of just there's going to be some kind of contractual matter that balances needs and wants. And then the far off future, far beyond that, far off being, some months, I'm not saying years and years, is going to be some economic news. And again, that economic news is not going to be as wonderful as it could possibly be farther down the road. But it looks like there's going to be some benefit, whether it's simply to the fact that resources can be allocated to more peaceful means and humanitarian means once some conflicts are done, or whether it means that there's going to actually be some modest benefit economically to residents of the planet. We will find out as time goes on. So that's it. There was a communication involved with that. We do need to keep our eye on President Putin, and some things are going to resolve quite nicely in the near future that involve both he and his country. So there you have it. Laura's view and the tarot too. And I thank you so much. This is it for this video. Have a wonderful night, weekend, whenever you're viewing this. And I thank you for your time, your attention, and I don't take you for granted. Now, if you're willing to receive it, as I leave, I'm going to wish you all love, and light and everything bright. Bye.